A black SUV idled on the shoulder of the Ohio Turnpike in the dead of night. Inside, a man slumped over the steering wheel, blood pooling beneath him. Beside him, a woman sobbed hysterically, her hands trembling as she dialed 911. The operator's voice crackled through the line. "Ma'am, what's your emergency?" Through gasping breaths, she managed to say, "Someone just shot my husband. Please, you have to help us." This was the scene that unfolded on May 13th, 2005, a night that would expose one of the most chilling murder-for-hire plots in recent American history. If you want to follow the full investigation and discover how detectives unraveled this web of deception, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of this case and other mysterious true crime stories. Dr. Gulam Moonda was a successful urologist practicing in the Hermitage, Pennsylvania area. At 69 years old, he had built a prosperous medical practice and accumulated substantial wealth over decades of dedicated work. He was well respected in his community, known for his professionalism and the comfortable lifestyle his success afforded him. His home was spacious, his cars were luxury models, and his bank accounts reflected years of financial prosperity. In 1990, Dr. Moonda married Donna, a woman 23 years his junior. Donna had worked as a nurse, and their relationship appeared, at least from the outside, to be stable. She was 48 years old at the time of the incident, and to neighbors and casual acquaintances, the Moondas seemed like any other affluent couple living in western Pennsylvania. They attended social functions, maintained their property, and presented an image of domestic harmony. However, beneath this veneer of normalcy, the marriage had begun to deteriorate. Court documents would later reveal that the relationship had grown cold and distant. While Dr. Moonda continued his medical practice and maintained his professional reputation, Donna had developed a secret life that would ultimately lead to tragedy. On the evening of May 13th, 2005, Dr. Gulam Moonda, his wife Donna, and Donna's mother were traveling on the Ohio Turnpike, returning from a trip to Cleveland. Donna was behind the wheel of their Mercedes-Benz E320. According to her initial statement to police at approximately 6:00 p.m., she pulled the vehicle over to the side of the highway near the 161-mile marker, claiming she wanted to switch drivers with her husband. As the vehicle came to a stop on the shoulder, another car pulled up behind them. A man emerged from this second vehicle and approached the Mercedes. What happened next, according to Donna's account to investigators, unfolded with terrifying speed. The man allegedly demanded money, and when Dr. Moonda reached for his wallet, shots were fired. Dr. Moonda was struck multiple times with at least one bullet, causing fatal injuries. The assailant then fled the scene, leaving Donna and her mother in shock. Donna immediately called 911. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but despite their efforts, Dr. Gulam Moonda was pronounced dead. The official cause of death was determined to be gunshot wounds to the torso. The crime scene was processed by the Ohio State Highway Patrol and local law enforcement agencies, who began what they initially believed to be an investigation into a highway robbery gone wrong. In the days following the shooting, Donna Moonda became a familiar face in local media. She appeared on television news programs, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded for help in finding her husband's killer. "Someone murdered my husband in cold blood," she told reporters. "Please, if anyone saw anything, come forward. Help us find justice for Gulam." The community responded with sympathy. Local newspapers ran stories about the grieving widow, and Dr. Moonda's patients and colleagues expressed shock and sorrow at the senseless violence. However, even as public sympathy poured in, investigators were beginning to notice inconsistencies in Donna's account. The first red flag was the nature of the crime itself. Highway robberies, while not unheard of, typically follow certain patterns. Criminals usually target vehicles that appear vulnerable or isolated, and they rarely execute victims when compliance is offered. In this case, the shooter had reportedly fired almost immediately, showing a level of violence disproportionate to a typical robbery. Detectives also noted peculiarities in Donna's behavior at the scene. As a trained nurse, she would have had medical knowledge and skills that could potentially have been useful in providing emergency care to her husband. Yet witnesses reported that she had not attempted any first aid measures, instead remaining in an apparent state of shock. While trauma can certainly affect people's ability to respond rationally, investigators filed this observation away as they continued to build their case. As days turned into weeks, the investigation began to shift focus. Financial records revealed that Dr. Moonda had a substantial estate, including life insurance policies and significant assets. Donna stood to inherit a considerable sum upon his death. This alone was not evidence of wrongdoing, but it established a clear financial motive that warranted further investigation. The breakthrough in the case came when investigators began to examine Donna's personal relationships more closely. Through phone records and witness interviews, they discovered that Donna had been involved in a romantic relationship with a man named Damian Bradford. Bradford, who was in his early 30s at the time, significantly younger than Donna, had a criminal history and was known to authorities for drug-related offenses. The relationship between Donna and Bradford had apparently begun when both were connected to a drug rehabilitation facility in the area. The exact nature and timeline of their involvement would become crucial pieces of the investigation. Phone records showed frequent communication between the two, including calls made in the days and weeks leading up to Dr. Moonda's death. Investigators obtained a warrant to search Bradford's residence and vehicle. What they found provided damning evidence. Forensic analysis linked Bradford's vehicle to the crime scene, and ballistic evidence connected a firearm in his possession to the shooting. When confronted with this evidence, Bradford initially denied involvement, but as the case against him strengthened, his legal position became increasingly untenable. Facing the possibility of the death penalty, Damian Bradford made a decision that would seal Donna Moonda's fate. In exchange for a plea agreement that would spare him from capital punishment, Bradford agreed to cooperate with investigators and provide testimony against Donna. His account of the events was chilling in its detail and calculation. According to Bradford's statement to authorities, Donna had approached him months before the shooting with a proposal. She allegedly told him that she wanted her husband dead and was willing to pay him to carry out the murder. Bradford claimed that Donna had provided specific details about Dr. Moonda's schedule habits and the route they would be taking on May 13th. The plan, as Bradford described it, was to make the killing look like a random highway robbery, thereby deflecting suspicion away from Donna. Bradford stated that on the day of the murder, he had followed the Moonda's vehicle on the Ohio Turnpike, waiting for Donna's signal. When she pulled over to the shoulder of the highway, allegedly as prearranged, Bradford pulled up behind them. He approached the vehicle and fired multiple shots at Dr. Moonda, then fled the scene as planned. According to his testimony, Donna had promised him a substantial sum of money from the inheritance she would receive after her husband's death. The investigation revealed communication records that appeared to corroborate parts of Bradford's account. Phone records showed calls between Donna and Bradford on the day of the murder and in the days immediately preceding it. Financial records indicated that Donna had made inquiries about her husband's life insurance policies and estate planning in the months before his death. Armed with Bradford's testimony, forensic evidence, and the patterns that had emerged from their investigation, prosecutors brought charges against Donna Moonda. She was indicted on federal charges of murder for hire, a crime that falls under federal jurisdiction due to its planned and premeditated nature, as well as the involvement of interstate commerce. The trial of Donna Moonda began in federal court and attracted significant media attention. The prosecution presented a methodical case, building their argument piece by piece. They called witnesses who testified about the deteriorating state of the Moonda marriage. They presented financial experts who explained the substantial inheritance Donna stood to gain. They showed the jury phone records documenting the communication between Donna and Bradford. Most dramatically, Damian Bradford took the witness stand as the prosecution's star witness. Over several days of testimony, he provided a detailed account of the murder-for-hire plot. He described conversations with Donna in which she allegedly expressed her desire to be free of her marriage and to start a new life. He recounted the planning stages the day of the murder and the aftermath. Under cross-examination by Donna's defense attorneys, Bradford admitted to his own criminal history and acknowledged that his testimony was part of a plea agreement, but he maintained the core elements of his account. The defense team attempted to portray Bradford as an unreliable narrator, motivated by the desire to avoid the death penalty and willing to fabricate a story that implicated Donna. They argued that Bradford may have acted alone or that his involvement with Donna was being mischaracterized. They pointed out that some elements of his testimony could not be independently verified, and that his criminal background made him an inherently untrustworthy witness. However, the prosecution countered that Bradford's testimony was supported by substantial corroborating evidence. The phone records, the financial motive, the forensic evidence linking Bradford to the crime scene, and the pattern of Donna's behavior in the aftermath of the shooting all painted a consistent picture. They argued that Donna had carefully orchestrated the murder to appear like a random act of violence, while she positioned herself as the grieving widow. The forensic evidence presented at trial included ballistic analysis that definitively linked the weapon used in the shooting to Bradford. Cell phone tower data placed both Donna and Bradford's phones in proximity to the crime scene at the relevant time. Financial records showed that Donna had been under increasing financial pressure and that the inheritance from her husband's death would resolve those pressures. Perhaps most compelling were the prosecution's arguments about Donna's behavior after the shooting. They noted that she had shown little physical or emotional response consistent with someone who had just witnessed their spouse's murder. Witnesses who encountered her at the scene described her demeanor as oddly controlled. The 911 call, when analyzed by experts, showed patterns of speech that some psychologists testified were inconsistent with genuine panic or grief. Throughout the trial, Donna Moonda maintained her innocence. She did not testify in her own defense, as is her constitutional right, but through her attorneys, she denied any involvement in planning or carrying out her husband's murder. She portrayed herself as a victim twice over, first of the violence that took her husband's life, and second of a criminal justice system that had targeted her based on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of a confessed killer seeking leniency. The jury deliberated for several days before reaching their verdict. On November 10, 2007, they found Donna Moonda guilty of murder-for-hire interstate stalking resulting in death and related firearms charges. The conviction carried a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. At her sentencing hearing, Dr. Moonda's family members were given the opportunity to address the court. They spoke of a kind, dedicated physician who had worked hard his entire life and deserved to enjoy his retirement years. They described the devastation his loss had caused to their family and their community. Some family members expressed disbelief that the woman Gulam had trusted and loved could have orchestrated his death. The federal judge presiding over the case delivered a strong rebuke to Donna in his sentencing remarks. He noted the calculated nature of the crime, the betrayal of marital trust, and the callousness shown in the aftermath. He emphasized that the murder-for-hire statute exists precisely to address cases where individuals use their resources to orchestrate violence while attempting to keep their own hands clean. The judge sentenced Donna Moonda to life in prison without parole, as mandated by federal sentencing guidelines for her conviction. Damian Bradford, having fulfilled his agreement to testify against Donna, received a sentence of 17.5 years in federal prison for his role in the murder. While this was a substantial sentence, it was significantly less than the death penalty or life without parole he might have faced had he not cooperated with authorities. His sentence reflected both the seriousness of his crime and the value prosecutors placed on his testimony in securing Donna's conviction. The case prompted widespread discussion in the Hermitage community and beyond. Many who had known the Moondas expressed shock that someone could present such a convincing facade while harboring such dark intentions. The image of Donna as a grieving widow on television pleading for justice was now recontextualized as a calculated performance designed to deflect suspicion. Legal experts who followed the case noted several important aspects of the investigation and prosecution. The case demonstrated the importance of thorough financial investigation in murder cases as the inheritance motive proved crucial to understanding Donna's alleged motivation. It also showed how modern forensic tools, including cell phone tracking and ballistic analysis, can provide objective evidence to support or refute witness testimony. The case also raised questions about the use of accomplice testimony in criminal prosecutions. Bradford's testimony was essential to the prosecution's case, yet he was an admitted killer with a strong incentive to cooperate. Defense attorneys in other cases have cited the Moonda case when arguing about the reliability of testimony from cooperating witnesses. Prosecutors counter that such testimony, when properly corroborated by physical evidence and other factors, is both legally permissible and often necessary to prosecute complex conspiracies. Dr. Gulam Moonda's colleagues in the medical community memorialized him through various tributes and charitable efforts. A scholarship fund was established in his name to support students pursuing careers in medicine. His patients remembered him as a caring physician who had treated them with dignity and professionalism throughout his career. For the Moonda family, the trial's conclusion brought a measure of justice but could not restore what had been lost. In victim impact statements, family members spoke of holidays that would forever feel incomplete, of grandchildren who would grow up without knowing their grandfather, and of the senseless waste of a life that had been dedicated to healing others. Donna Moonda remains incarcerated in a federal prison facility. She has maintained her innocence and filed appeals, challenging various aspects of her conviction. Though as of the available records, these appeals have not resulted in her conviction being overturned. Her case is sometimes cited in legal textbooks and true crime analyses as an example of a murder-for-hire prosecution based substantially on accomplice testimony. The Ohio Turnpike, where Moonda took his last breath, continues to serve as a major thoroughfare for thousands of travelers daily. Most pass by the 161-mile marker without knowing the violent act that occurred there on May 13, 2005. For those who remember the case, however, that stretch of highway serves as a somber reminder of how deception and betrayal can hide behind the most ordinary facades. This case serves as a stark reminder that trust is the foundation of all human relationships, and when that trust is betrayed in the most fundamental way, the consequences ripple far beyond the immediate crime. It underscores the critical importance of thorough investigation and the rule of law in ensuring that justice is served regardless of how convincingly someone may attempt to disguise their guilt. Thank you for watching this detailed examination of the Donna Moonda case. We encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below, always grounded in the facts presented during the trial and investigation. If you want to stay updated on this case and other compelling true crime stories, please subscribe to our channel and enable notifications so you never miss an update on the mysteries that continue to captivate and educate us about the darker aspects of human nature.